Principal's report.
Today was the first day of the new school year. We had freshman orientation from 8 to 10, and then all of the students were in attendance for the remainder of the day. It was really nice to have the staff and the students back in the building, and the class of 2022 seems like it's going to be a really good class. And then on Thursday and Friday this week, students will attend grade level assemblies to be reminded of academic and behavioral expectations. We made parents aware that we would be doing that, and then we always post those presentations online in case parents would like to see them as well. Our open house is on August 29th at 7 p.m. and we'll have a presentation before that at 6 p.m. to talk about enhancements to our safety procedures as well as mental health supports that we have in place for this school year. We gave parents a brief notification in the beginning of the year letter that was sent home in July. And later this week, we'll send additional information regarding open house and that presentation. All fall sports are up and running, and tryouts for the fall play are already scheduled. Those are on August 28th, and there's a mandatory information meeting prior to that on August 23rd in the auditorium. This year's play is Alice in Wonderland. And then attached in the principal's report, we have 3 brief reports. The first one begins on page 5 in board book, and this is a professional development report. We share this twice a year, so this is updated to include second semester information as well as professional development that happened over the summer. And so as you can see, those items are marked with a red bullet. Just to remind you, there are 4 different funds in which we have some professional development. Title I, II, and IV are federal grants, and money that was not used in those accounts will roll over into the next year. And then the unclaimed tuition reimbursement funds is per the collective bargaining agreement, and and that money cannot be rolled over into the next school year. So sometimes, typically, why we have money left over is because we've earmarked money for teachers to go to a particular conference, and then for one reason or another they can't go. We don't have time to reallocate it. So that's typically what happens and why that money gets rolled over. So you can see with Title I, we have about a little over $4,000 that will be rolled over into next year. Title II had about, we received over $40,000 for professional development in that grant, and that's typically our largest source of professional development. And we spent almost all of that, and we have a little over $2,000 that will be rolled over. Title IV was new this year, and we have $500 that will roll over for next year. And then an unclaimed tuition reimbursement, you can see that typically happens at the latter part of second semester and over the summer. And some important things to highlight in there, the teachers that are associated with the College and Career Readiness Academy worked really hard throughout the summer to prepare for being very intentional on how we were going to approach those students in their freshman year to be very consistent across those courses. And then teachers that had new textbooks had some time to prepare for those classes as well. And then you can see a lot of work was spent with preparing for the SAT. So that when students came back this school year, teachers were prepared and materials were updated to get students ready to take the SAT. And so we used almost all of that money that we had, and we had $34.90 remaining in that account. Before I go on to the next report, are there any questions on that?
How's the reception so far with the new program you have for the, students that you felt need to live? I forget what we call it. I should remember. What do we call it?
The College and Career Readiness Academy.
That's first year for that.
Correct.
How's the reception amongst the students and the parents as far
It's
as?
only day 1, but I think it's great.
You didn't have people saying, I don't want my kid getting in or banging.
No, and we did give opportunities. One of the primary placements was based off of students' reading scores.
Right.
So we looked at students' spring MAP scores to see if they still needed to be placed in there. And then we offered opportunity in the summer to retest students to make sure that the students that needed to be there were in there, and then students that didn't were moved out.
Okay, thank you.
What's roughly the percentage of the incoming freshmen are going to wind up coming in there? Roughly, I'm not going to hold you.
Or how many students?
It's been varying, so we probably have like around 60 students, roughly, and I think the class is over 400. That number keeps fluctuating due to
Sure.
transfers, but I think
Okay.
we're over 400
About
now.
15%.
The next report is on page 8, and this is just updating staffing for the year. So as you can see on the bottom, I highlighted in yellow, we have a .1 FTE that hasn't been allocated yet. We're currently monitoring class sizes in science at the freshman years, particularly earth science. As Dr. Skinkis mentioned, we may need an additional .1 FTE if we have to add a section to that. But enrollment's still fluctuating a lot, so right now we're just monitoring that course. And that hopefully would be the only thing that we would need to consider adding. In November, once enrollment is stabilized, we always provide an update on this, and we also include the updated class size averages for each department. So you'll see this again in November. The last report is on page 9, and this is a snapshot of our transfer situation. So I compiled this on August 8th, and obviously, information has already changed, but it's a good snapshot. As of August 8th, we had 51 students transfer in and 16 students exit, so a net gain of 35 students. Our enrollment at that time was approximately 1,660 students. I say approximately because we still had families that hadn't proven residency, and then we had other students that had completed an application to enroll in RB. So I always provide an update on this in September, and by then usually the enrollment has stabilized, so it's a much better accurate picture of where we're at with enrollment. Are there any questions on either of those two?
You talked about special ed transfers in. How many special ed of that?
I don't know, but I can have that information in September. I can break it out by grade level and special ed.
I believe we're up to an additional 20 special ed students. But I'm not, it will help in September, finally confirm that.
And that's it for the principal's report.